survived and thrived for 24 years? How has it become the most active trading group in Australia? And I'm going to break it down to very, very briefly history, introduce myself for starters, and then what makes Tableland Let's great. And of course, we all know what makes Tableland Let's conference great. Oh, you can't even see their faces. That's a little picture of Jenny and Katrin, I was going to say. Yes. Okay, so about me for starters. As I mentioned, I was one of the founding members of Tableland Let's. I've lived in the Tablelands for 27 years. My background is in science, marine biology, and then I jumped over to the arts, and I actually attribute Let's to that career change. I'd just finished my PhD on seaweed ecology and had some sort of odd jobs in circus and music. I was actually, up here, not prepared to commute to the sea to continue with my marine biology, and that's why then I had my baby, first baby, and Let's started all at that time. And I started experimenting with the arts, just trying different crafts, and there was a brilliant Let's shop, so I could test the market, if you like, with all my experiments, and eventually developed my art into greetings cards with my children's baby paintings in collage, and sell them to galleries and gift shops for actual dollars. And my husband left his job, and the two of us, we actually lived off this and made a living with this small business, micro business, selling cards for over 20 years. And I say thanks to Let's for getting me started, because it was one of those processes, much as Katie has described, where okay, people don't want what I have to offer, marine biology and Tablelands, okay, what else can I do? And so it happened, and I found there's other things I could do. Oh, it's too dark. I can't read my notes. Perhaps I'll just grab a torch. Okay, that's right. Yes, I haven't got time to tell you all of my best Let's trades, but I do want to mention that I know I'm the first to spend Bartles in France. 2 years ago, my family and I had an opportunity to travel, and so I went to the trouble of tracking down the equivalent Let's groups in France, also Slovenia, and we spent Bartles on our accommodation. It was absolutely fantastic for our travel budget. I'm just mentioning it so you can actually ask me some more about it later, because it is possible, and of course not just helping our budget, but also we met people with similar interests. It was so interesting, it was fantastic. So that's a picture of me in Paris to remind me to tell you about that. My sister Janet, this is another one, ask me about later. My sister Janet in Condom Pouches, she developed those vouchers. I put them in with the ones that Katie, here we go, I can show you a picture. There's the vouchers. She developed vouchers much as Katie was talking about, and I've got those here and I can talk about those as well. Potentially these ones, Condom Pouches vouchers, could turn up in your exchange anytime. Now, they're not Condomine only. Obviously, each Let's exchange would have the last say of whether they're going to accept them or not. But they're out there in circulation and they could turn up. So ask me about those if you'd like to. And also my sister has developed a game. If you've ever been in that situation, trying to explain to people who don't know anything about Let's, and you just watch their eyes glaze over and they don't know why it's any relevance to them and they're just not listening, they don't care. But you know that it would be really good for them because it opens up opportunities for trade. So Janet's been in that situation and has come up with a brilliant game. She's tested it out and snapped through that eye-glazing moment and had some success. And I've got it here so I could demonstrate. It only takes, say, a quarter of an hour or something. It's really simple, and it's something that you can use as a tool for outreach. So I don't know if there'll be a chance for it over the weekend, but hopefully. Main Street of Atherton before Let's. So there's a little bit of the history of Let's. Back, as I mentioned before, we three of us standing on the main street talking about we should do this. Ponna went off to Mullaney and learned the methods from Jill Jordan and Colin and myself. And then we launched Let's. We muddled through our first trades. I'll never forget my first trade was I bought a high chair for the baby for 10 bottles from Sean Watson. Neither of us knew what we were doing. It was very exciting. Then, of course, offers and wants were recorded, were sent out by newsletter, on paper. By the time they reached the members, they were generally completely out of date. It was just, in the old way, the most valuable thing which we just clung onto was a paper member contact list. And, you know, if all else fails, you just would ring around and say who's got a, or who can do this. The trading events, of course, were just as important then as now. In fact, that was word of mouth, and trading meetings were the start of everything. Accounts were recorded and totted up on paper. And we got into the media a bit. This was in our very first year. So Tableland Let's started, say, March 1991. This is the end of the same year. I can tell because baby Evan is now 24 years ago. So that's Ponna and Colin there with me. So page 3, the Weekend Australian, we really made a splash that year, and Ponna tells me that she was flooded with inquiries from around Australia, and the Let's Australia groups, there were about 30 or something, and suddenly there were 130 because they were asking us what to do. Of course, we had to point them back to Mullaney Let's, who had been going for a while. Eventually they were fundraising for a computer, and we had some amazing boom years with a busy shop in Atherton on the main street of Atherton some of the time. There was a Let's Relax Centre, which local healers, sometimes they're saying that was their break to get, because there's this beautiful centre in Atherton where you could go for all healing types of things. So the shops opened in 1992, we're still going. I think it closed in 1998. That was a terribly difficult decision because they had come to a point where the rent in dollars, federal dollars, was prohibitive, and so finally the shop closed down. The shop had staff in it, and passers-by, just walk-ins from the street could buy things for dollars. There was always an alternate price, and that with the hope that would pay for the rent. But otherwise you could spend your bartels in the shop. It was fantastic. But at that time, when finally it closed, it heralded a period of decline, and for many years there was just a handful of people meeting on Gavin's veranda, still trading, plenty of people in the books, but yeah, Let's was ticking over. Until Belle joined, 2006, 2007. And so yes, Belle's extraordinary leadership has taken us through exponential growth to the amazing and thriving position we've come to today. So Tableland Let's, we now have 735 active members, like 780 something. 780 something on the books, but 6% don't trade or haven't traded yet. 735 actually trading, and examples of our amazing trading. So just last year, 206,341 bartels changed hands, and just last month, 15,000. That's a typical month, 15,000. This has been going on for some time. This is not a fluke. This is. Yes, there's lots of issues. That's why I'm sort of flagging it for discussion later. So thanks for your question. I will ask if you wouldn't mind keeping your questions to the end because I'm going to lose my thread. But I think we'd like to, be really good to talk about that. Ask Katie her experience too. They're good questions. And yeah, not in the scope of my talk, so I'll race on. Now I'm going to race through a list of factors, which are the things which I can see that Tableland Let's does that works, and perhaps they're contributing to what makes us so great. Apologies to Brizlet's members who've probably heard me say this again and again. I'm constantly bragging about Tableland Let's. Oh, in Tableland Let's we do it this way. And so, but hopefully some of these are the answer to the question, I'm not sure. So there's Belle, the one obviously brilliant, important factor which has made a huge difference to Tableland Let's is the coordinating by Belle. She is an extraordinary person, has brilliant business sense, and has stimulated many improvements to the way the system works here. She's really good at delegating tasks, so the more time-consuming admin work gets shared among a group of us, and we're paid, admin is paid in bartels for the work done. We don't have ghastly, boring meetings. We don't have meetings as a rule. Decision to be made, email goes around. I think this possibly is part of it. You hear so often that a group implodes because the meetings were so horrible. People stopped coming and then there were fewer people to do the work. I don't know. But yeah, this is why I love working with Belle, because we just get the job done and everything's very constructive. We don't have to listen to anybody chin-wagging, just belly, complaining and going on and on. It's the sort of thing you get at meetings sometimes. I don't know if you agree with that, but... So then on a practical matter, here we have a map. There's a bigger one here. Tableland Let's is the only exchange in the far north. We cover a vast geographic region from the Cassowary coast in the south to Cooktown, away up north, and includes the city of Cairns and all of the Tablelands. How do we manage such a broad region? We have hubs, we call them hubs, in each little town, little area. There's a local area coordinator who takes on a lot of the admin work and liaises with the local membership, organises regular trading meetings, and keeps the focus local. The beauty of this, of course, means that there's trading events happening all the time in every part, everywhere around. If you're a person who can only go out on Saturdays, but in your area the trading happens Wednesday nights, well, you can just travel a bit further on Saturday and find something somewhere where there's trading. And of course, the really keen members go to multiple events. So our trading events are very varied, different sorts of venues, different types of events. So this one's at the back of a shop, at the front of a restaurant. And here's an example of our calendar. Very full. There's something happening everywhere all the time. An event on a veranda, Catherine's a veranda, and sometimes they're combined with a social activity. Another amazing thing we do, which is so successful, is our drop-off and pick-up points. So in each hub there's a designated area. Some member has said, you can use my veranda or my shed. And when Let's members have read on CES and negotiated a trade, they can discuss amongst themselves where's going to be a good central place to leave the item, and it gets parcelled up with all the details written on the parcel, the person's name who it's going to taken to the drop-off point. And better than that, we have a courier system. So whenever anybody is travelling across the Tablelands for their own purposes, they might drop into this hub, pick up whatever needs to go to the other side of the Tablelands, take it with them, drop it off at the next one. And it really works. It's incredible. You can read on CES one night of something you really need and it's, Cairns or way over, and send an email, and by the end of the week you've got it because it's come to your local hub. It works very well. I'm looking forward to finding out how, if anyone's tried this in the city setting, how that might translate to a situation where potentially there's more crime and vandalism and so on. I don't know whether there's going to be obstacles like that, but it works so well in the Tablelands. This is Irene's Let's Shed. So it's the drop-off point for Atherton, but Irene has turned it into a shop. Let's members leave their extra produce. It's like an honesty stall. You can go there and buy things. Better than that, she keeps an eye on what fruit is dropping and rotting around the town, and she talks to the people who haven't got time to use it. And they're generally very happy to donate it. And so then we have extra produce on offer in the shop. Catherine has her drop-off spot outside the front. She also has the fruit and veggies for sale, and bartels are accepted. This is underneath Catherine's house, a lot of trading going on. These are all parcels left for people. You've got to go there to pick up your thing, you look for your name and take it away. Many of the Let's events are focused around a shared meal. I mention this because it's not obvious. Some exchanges don't do it. It has a number of advantages. It's a potluck meal where members, everyone brings a plate. It's easier for the host. It caters for all diets. It becomes an enjoyable social occasion. And inevitably, the discussion there turns around recipes and cooking and gardening, and more trading happens. It becomes, and of course you get the best feed ever. So another thing which we very commonly do is circle time. So at some point during the trading event, everyone sits in a circle and takes it in turns around the circle to briefly announce your offers and what you're wanting. This has an important role of bringing the wants into the trading day. So it's more than just a market, because your wants are out there. It also means that services can be mentioned, not just your junk, your goods. And they so often turn into brainstorming sessions, problem solving. People are then saying, you don't need that, this is what you can do to solve that problem. So, here's a good one. Sponsorship month. So once a year usually, we do it in December, new members can join for free if an existing member is willing to pay 20 units to sponsor them. So it's a $20 federal currency joining fee, a one-off. But in December, we have this thing where we actually encourage existing members to think, who would they want to encourage to join? It could be that there's something you really would like to buy for bartels and they're not in the system, so you sponsor them to join. Or it could be the other way around. You know somebody who would like to be a customer of whatever you have to offer, and they can't afford it, and you think if they had access through Let's, that'd be great, so you sponsor them to join. Either way, it has been a fantastic membership drive, and also raising bartels for admin for the kitty. I don't know if you can see it's quite faded, isn't it? We don't have a transaction fee in Let's. We actually asked headquarters to switch off the 4% trading fee, and we just charge an annual levy instead. Currently it's 15 bartels, has been for some years now, and of course with our vast membership, 780 something times 15 bartels, you can see it's a good income, and out of that we pay a good sum, pay our dues to CES for their service, and then what's left over goes into for a bartel payments for admin. We have limits of plus or minus 1,000, so all members are encouraged to aim for a balance of 0. If anyone gets to the plus 1,000 in credit or minus 1,000 in debit, then they're asked if they need some help with earning or spending, and potentially their account can be locked if they're not willing to address the issue and come back down towards 0. This actually, in practicality, it happens really rarely. I can think of one. It doesn't happen very much, because what we often there's a good reason, such as somebody has had a particular expensive purchase, or they've held a working bee and had a bigger outlay, or they've sold an expensive item and they've suddenly gone up. So if they've got a good reason and the person has a history of effective trading, both earning and spending, then usually the limits can be temporarily lifted to allow them to work towards getting back in. And we have a process of a pep talk. There a number of us who've got ideas for how you might be able to get back into earning, or what else it is you can do to spend. I'm interested in this limits topic, that there's different limits around. It seems so interesting that all the different groups, exchanges everywhere, have different limits, some of them not even equal above or below. I read somewhere that the original recommendation, Tim from Global CES was recommending plus or minus 5,000. So I'd love to have some discussion later about what's the most sensible limits, what the factors would be to control that. In Tableland Let's, we have a community chest, which is a charity account, and anyone can donate bartels, and from time to time the committee then picks a worthy cause or a needy recipient, and the donation is given. Some of it's given to them. Working bees. A working bee is a great way to get a big job done. 10 or 20 people working for a couple of hours can really accomplish something. And then they sit down for a shared meal and a chat and a bit of trading, so it always ends up being a social thing too. The working bee can involve a variety of tasks, indoor jobs and outdoor jobs, just something to suit everybody, and whole families come along, and even the kids can earn some bartels. So large sums of units change hands at a working bee, and workers are paid by the hour. We have often had workshops. That picture shows making hot water from compost. We've had a range of different workshops, a huge variety of different things: sourdough baking, natural health, weaving, soap making, beekeeping, building in stone, Linux, crisis management, alternative communication, and so on. Workshops often attract non-members. They're there for the workshop, and then of course they learn about Let's and end up joining. So that we have a Facebook page. You've probably seen it, and I think that's word of mouth is still one of the most important ways that things get started. Membership and trading get started. Facebook is where people are interacting these days, so it's important. And of course we have to have coordinators watching there to make sure people follow the rules. We have a resource lending library. This says books, actually books and DVDs available just to lend to members. And for a while there was a DVD, like a film night, regular film night. We had a series of those on economic, like alternative economy topics, other topics of interest, followed by a discussion, a shared meal and a bit of trading. That attracted a lot of members because they were very popular film nights, and people came and then ended up joining. Getting to the end. Oh yes, the website. You've probably all seen our website too. But yeah, that's been important with a portal to log into CES, and we have our calendar of events on the website and all the downloadable forms and everything. So in conclusion, I've rushed through a lot of the factors that I've identified that have really worked for us. What else could it be that makes us so great? So I don't know if there's something about this region and its people, the size of the community, the demographics, the remote location, the fact that we don't have much of a free cycle here, or that festival of garbage that happens in the city, when everyone puts their stuff out on the curbside and then everyone else comes for a rummage. I don't think that really happens in the Tableland so much. So whether that plays a role, or the type of people who have been attracted to live in this area. This is my own personal feeling that there's a lot of people here by choice, not desperation. People who've travelled the world and they think, I'm going to go back and live there. It's the most beautiful place. You can grow your own stuff and it's not so far from a city. You do get a lot of that. Tree changes and people pursuing a sustainable lifestyle. So, that feeling of coming by choice, I feel like that it could be that there are people with a utopian mindset. Whether that's why, I just made that up. I have no idea, but these are the questions which come up. It's my feeling that the group reached a critical size. Once that happened, there was so much on offer that you'd be mad not to join. And with a smaller group, you've got fewer members, fewer offerings. People sort of hold back because they're not sure if they can get value for if they sell something, they're not sure if they're going to get the value back again, so they'd rather have dollars. You get to that point. Currently, at least for households, there's no holding back. I reckon in Tableland there is just a brilliant list of things. You'd go there first before the yellow pages because you're probably going to find your needs met. I'm not sure that we're actually there for businesses yet. Mostly businesses would still say that they could very easily earn way more than they can spend in lets. I'm not sure about that, but I think possibly we're yet to get to that no holding back for businesses in lets. And I'm even wondering whether raising the limits could help that. So also to conclude, a word of encouragement to the smaller groups. As I said before, we've been there, and I'm sure setting up in a vacuum is one of the hardest parts, actually introducing the concept to people who have been trained that if it sounds too good to be true, then it's probably a scam. That comes up, doesn't it? However, even having a small network in place is good. It's preparation for an uncertain future. And as far as I have read, in those countries around the world where there has been an economic crisis, the ones that fared the best have been the ones that actually had a local exchange system of some sort in operation, just ready for that time. And even if it is just old people swapping hot plates. So take heart that wherever you're at, whatever you're doing with your group, you may be paving the way for some bigger and better things to come. It seems, I hope that you could learn that from our history, that, that's the possibility. That's all I have, but have I got 5 minutes to take questions? Who's keeping the time? No one's looking? Okay, ask me questions.
Services in the system that you do have.
Beg your pardon? Sorry.
Produce and goods, but services. Can you elaborate on services?
Yes. That was one of Belle's big thrusts when she first became coordinator. She said, look, you're trading junk, hot plates, whatever. Where are the services? We need more services. And so she really emphasised that, and it's true. Once we could get a mechanic, get your electrician, your babysitting, your ironing, all of these things, and they're all out there, and it does take a pep talk to somebody who can do it, but they just didn't know that anybody wanted it. Yes, another question. Ooh. Yeah.
So at one point when we rapidly grew and I didn't have that second level of management, say, my direct coordinators and our drop-off points and everything, it was consuming up to 20 hours a week. It was just constant phone calls and emails and adding people. But once I delegated, it's now left to be two.
And how many do you think the coordinators are doing a week roughly?
Well,
Less than me.
yes, absolutely. Definitely less than her.
Yeah. So half now, maybe.
Yeah.
But you
Unless
always
they've
on
got an event
Facebook.
on there.
It's always on Facebook. Always.
Yeah.
And paying bathroom to all that time? Not that time.
I can answer, yeah.
Yeah, our payment is a token amount.
Yeah, the bundle payment is a token amount, and there are those who refuse it. They say, no, I don't want that. And we're, Bell trusts us to say that, well, I actually didn't do anything this last 2 months, so just drop me off the pay list, or put your hand up and say, well, look, I especially did something. So it's very flexible, variable, and a bit of an honesty system. Yep, another question?
Does your admin account balance?
Oh, sorry, I can't hear back here.
Does your admin account balance, so what's coming in from your members actually cover the costs of admin?
Yes.
Oh, Bell said yes. Phew.
I try to spend it every year,
Yeah.
so I can take it again next year.
Okay.
But what admin pays out to the people who do the
Yep.
work?
We go back to zero every year, so we take our levies and then we try and spend it all through the year, giving it away.
And based on that, we'd actually review our annual levy because, we were asking for more in earlier years, and we dropped it back to 15, and potentially that could drop or rise if we needed more, depending on what income is required. Hang on, let's just take this question here.
Also, the list of wants and offerings is very extensive. Is there a search function where you can search for a service rather than scrolling through the whole list?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yep, just when you first click on offerings, look on that page. There's all sorts of ways you can specify what you're searching and where you're searching. You can search all of Australia or down to, and you can search for, yes. Jodie. Yes, the transaction fee ends up penalising those who are most active, whereas the annual levy has that broad thing, as you say, to stimulate everyone to get trading. Yes? Yep, thank you. Yeah, we had another question over here somewhere. No? Up the back, yes?
Once a year, how you can sponsor somebody to come into this, does it have to be in your own community or can it be anywhere in Australia?
It's a Tableland Let's thing, yes. We haven't ever had sponsored someone elsewhere to. I think it's because Tableland Let's has agreed to swap the $20 notes for the 20 units at that particular time. Some other group hasn't, but you can talk to their coordinator and ask them if they would like to make an exception. I'm going to have to wind up. That looks like the clock shouting at me, so thanks very much. Just let's keep this discussion going all weekend, of course.